On the 4th of January His Majesty came unexpectedly into the House of Commons, attended with his guard and some gentlemen. The King, being entered, went up to the Speaker's chair, and standing upon the step cast his eye round about the House. Then he spake to the Speaker, and demanded of him whether he saw any of those 5 members whom he had accused of high treason. The Speaker, falling on his knees, answered, I have neither eyes to see nor tongue to speak in this place, but as this House is pleased to direct me, whose servant I am here. Thereupon the King declared that he would not break the privileges of Parliament, nor would he hurt one hair of any of their heads. But, he said, he expected their obedience. He looked about him once more with some discontent, for he saw plainly they were withdrawn. And so, after a little pause, he departed from the House, the members crying out, Privilege! Privilege! As he went out.
His Majesty entered the house with many armed men, who placed themselves at the door and in the passage. The members sat silent and amazed. The King, having demanded the 5 members, not finding them present, departed in displeasure. The House instantly resolved that this attempt was a high breach of privilege, tending to the overthrow of Parliament and the peace of the kingdom.
This day His Majesty came to the Commons' House, accompanied with some 300 or 400 armed men, and the passage from Whitehall to Westminster Hall was thronged with soldiers and halberdiers, which bred much terror in the city. When His Majesty entered, a great amazement seized on us all, yet we sat still. His Majesty looked about him on every side, then went up to the Speaker's chair and spake, demanding the 5 members accused of high treason. But the House being privy to His Majesty's intent, the said members had withdrawn. The Speaker on his knees humbly besought His Majesty to command him only as the House should direct. The King, much moved, said he saw all his birds were flown. He departed with a clouded countenance, and the House cried out, Privilege, privilege, as His Majesty withdrew. This violence struck such a terror into all loyal hearts as I never saw before in Parliament.
About 3 o'clock, His Majesty entered the House of Commons, having left his guard at the door, though many of them pressed in. The King's coming was so sudden that it struck us with amazement. His Majesty, standing by the Speaker's chair, asked him if he saw the 5 members. The Speaker, kneeling, answered he could only speak as directed by the House. The King said he perceived the birds were flown, that he expected their obedience, and that he never meant any harm to their persons. With that, he went out, and all the House cried, Privilege, divers times. This was the first time ever a king came into the House of Commons in such a manner.
On Tuesday last, His Majesty came with a strong guard of soldiers to the House of Commons to seize the 5 members lately accused of high treason. But finding them not there, he returned with a sad countenance. The members cried, Privilege, and presently adjourned. Great amazement hath seized on the city and kingdom at this bold act, and many fear some sudden attempt upon the Parliament's freedom.
On the 4th of January, His Majesty, attended by many gentlemen and soldiers armed with swords and pistols, came into the House. The Speaker left his chair, and the King came up to it. Casting his eyes round about, he asked where the 5 members were. Mr. Speaker, kneeling, answered as he had before prepared himself. His Majesty said, "I see all the birds are flown. I expect you will send them to me." And so went forth. Then there was a great noise, crying, "Privilege! Privilege!" And immediately the House adjourned.
Yesterday the king himself came with armed men into the Commons to fetch away 5 of their members, but they being warned were gone. The king was much vexed and departed in great disorder. The whole city is in a tumult. Men cry out treason, privilege of Parliament broken, and all look for nothing but blood and confusion.
His Majesty's going in person to the House of Commons on Tuesday last hath been much misconstrued by the faction, yet I am persuaded all indifferent men will judge it proceeded from His Majesty's singular desire of justice. The 5 members had been lawfully accused of treason upon strong grounds, which, if true, tended to the subversion of monarchy and religion. His Majesty, therefore, thought fit to demand them himself, that the authority of Parliament might be vindicated from those who abused it. His Majesty entered with no intent of violence. His guard did not draw their swords, nor did His Majesty speak aught but graciously, promising not to hurt a hair of their heads. The withdrawing of the said members before His Majesty came, thither showed their own guilt and fear, and His Majesty by this hath manifested to the world his patience and clemency in not prosecuting them by force.
It is falsely spread that His Majesty came with an army to assault the Parliament. He came attended with gentlemen of honour to demand such persons as are charged with treason. His Majesty stood upon the steps of the chair and spake with great calmness. He gave his royal word he would do them no harm. Let all men consider whether a king be not obliged to demand justice upon traitors, and whether any man be the less a traitor because he sits in Parliament.